All right, welcome back, and we're going to continue with our DFIR toolkit using Python. Then the next thing that we want to do is to extract those IOCs, those indicators of compromise, and that means something like URLs, emails, IP addresses. So for that, we're going to start and we're going to import string, if I can type it correctly. All right, fantastic. And if you remember, when we opened our file, we were reading this in binary form and we were saving all that in data. So now we have to go through that data to get that information. I have a new content on our test.txt file that has IP addresses, it has email addresses and IP addresses and URLs. So, all right. So how do we read this? Well, the first thing that we want to make sure is that we get a list of characters that we can read through. So for that, we're going to add visible characters, and that's going to be a set of a string. It's going to be printable characters, and we're going to encode it in ASCII. All right. And then our current string is going to be our binary form, and that's it. Fantastic. All right, so I am going to push all this down because we want to have all the space and we want to look clean while we're doing this. All right, so let's go and read byte by byte on this data. So for B in data, if this is invisible characters, we want to add it to the current string. So it's going to be in the bytes object and B. So why do we have this? Because remember that when we are reading this in bytes, this is going to be numbers 0 to 255. And we want to have this number here because at the end what we want is have this. If we have the word hello, this is what we want to have. We want to have a concatenation of all these letters. Why? Because then when we decode it, again with ASCII, we want this to look like this. This is our objective, and this is why we're having the bytes object. All right. So again, if this B is invisible characters, add this to our current string. If it is not, this is what we're going to do. If the length of current string is greater or equal than 4, what we want to do is to decode this message, current string, decode, and again ASCII. And we're going to print a message. And let's see what happens. We're going to use f strings, and we're going to say, hey, this is going to be a string and decode it. So we don't see anything, and we should be seeing something from data, right? Here's the reason why. If we go through this text, we're going to see that we don't have any non-visible characters, like weird symbols and stuff like that. All these characters are part of ASCII. So, and yes, I had to learn that. I'm here actually. So because we're not seeing those characters, this else is not going to show up. So how do we make this show up? Well, we can say this. If the length of current string, and it's going to be exactly the same for, we're going to decode this, current string is going to be the code and ASCII. And we're going to print this. So again, we're going to use our f string and decode it. Let's run this again. And now you can see that we were able to print this to our terminal window. All right. So now the next step is to get the URLs, the IP addresses, and the email addresses. Something that you're going to see in all three of them is that they're very particular. There's something that in them that we can recognize. In our URLs, usually starts with HTTP or HTTPS ://. If it is an email address, we're going to see a username followed by the @ symbol. And if it is an IP address, we're going to see octets right here. So for that, we're going to use something called regular expressions. Now I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to type it. I have it right here. So I'm going to copy paste this because this will take us a long time. So I'm going to make sure that it's well intended. We're good. So let me explain this. And let's use this one because we don't have a lot of noise here. If we're going to use the email pattern, this is what the regular expression is doing. It's going to go through all this text. And let's say that we're looking for also, right? So regular expression is going to have A through Z lowercase, A through Z uppercase, 0 through 9, integers obviously, dot, underscore, percentage, plus, minus. And then our delimiter is going to be the @ symbol. So it goes like this. That's our first delimiter. And then we have our second delimiter, which is going to be our dot for .com. So let's go through also. Does it have an A? Yes. L? Yes. S? Yes. O? Yes. What happens after? There's a space. Okay, so we don't have an @ symbol. Let's move on to the next one, which is node. So as you can see, for the lack of a better expression, it's something like a loop that is looking for something. In our case, we're looking for the @ symbol and this dot here. And the same thing goes for the IP pattern and the URL pattern. And you can find this regular expressions online, by the way. That's going to be in our GitHub page. So I'm going to import regular expressions, and now we are going to work through this. So let's start right here. Let's start with emails. Emails is going to be this. We're going to call the regular expression, and we're going to find all of them that has the email pattern indecoded. So what it means is, hey, regular expression, find everything that it complies with the email pattern indecoded. So for email in emails, we're going to print, let's say email, why not? And now we have our emails right here. So, but what I want to do is to place this in a list so we can loop through the list because it can be a lot of emails. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to have something called like extracted emails. It's going to be an empty list. Extracted URLs. It's going to be an empty list. And extracted IPs is going to be an empty list. Now I don't want to print this, but what I want to do is the following. If the email not in extracted emails, I want to append this extracted emails, append email. So how about if we go and print this out? Let's see. For email in extracted emails, print, let's see, if a string email. We're doing this only to make sure that it works, and it works. Fantastic. So now we're going to do the same with our URLs. So URLs is going to be called the regular expression. Make sure that it finds everything. We're going to do our URL pattern in decoded, which is the message that we have right here, or from this one, from our text. And then for URL in URLs, if the URL is not in extracted URLs, extracted URLs, append URL. Okay. And then our IP addresses is going to be the same, regular expression, find all. And that was IPs. What was the pattern for IPs? I forgot the name. IP pattern. IP pattern, decoded. So for IP in IPs, if the IP not in extracted IPs, we're going to tell this list, hey, append the IP, extracted IPs. All right. So now that we have this, the last thing that we need to do is print all this in a format that we can actually read. And that's going to be interesting. So we're going to be here, I think. Yeah. So how do we do this? Let's see, we can go and print something like dash times 50. Let's see. I had to indent this once. Oopsie, no. Okay, so we have this. I may want to use the double one, the equal sign, maybe. Okay, at this point what we're doing is just printed this out, kind of nice. Want to use two tabs and analysis results. And let's do this again. Hopefully it looks decent. That has to be more in the middle. This is where how I waste time. Okay. Maybe one more. Fantastic. And now what I want to do is I am going to print a space. And now I want to print this extracted URLs, extracted emails, and so on. So how do we do this? What we can do is the following. If we have extracted emails, we're going to print something like this. IOC emails. And then for email in extracted emails, print f strings Yeah, we can do this. Tab email. Let's see how that works. Yep, looks perfect to me. We are going to print a space, and now we're going to do the same for extracted IP addresses. So print IOC IPs for IP in extracted IPs. Print f string, and then do we add something here? Yes, we add a dash space IP. And last but not least, we need to have our URLs. If extracted URL, so if we have something in the list, we're going to print that as well. So IOCs URLs. For URL in extracted URLs, we're going to print the same thing. So it's going to be dash URL. And this is supposed to be an F string. So let's see how this looks like. It looks really good. All right, let's go and push all this content up. So maybe what we want to do here is something like the same. File hash, and then we want to do something like this. At the end, we can break this line. So this is how I waste time again doing stuff like this, because I want this to look good. And sometimes I succeed, sometimes I do not. We have a file size. Oh, I forgot about this. Print file size. And we're going to break this line again. And as you can see, it's a lot of formatting at this point. Last modified on. We didn't break this line here, but as you can see, we're almost done. It looks decent now. And the last but not least is this one. And we can copy paste this to our print. And I'm sorry that you had to go through all this, because I know that it is a lot of time. But again, I want to make sure that this looks decent at the end. So this is our work. And for now, this is it for our DFIR toolkit using Python.